I hope I'm audible, sir.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Just 1 second. Give me a second. I'll just check settings a bit.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
concerned because my AirPods 2 are not really working the way that. That's better. I think they're working now. All right. Yeah. All right, they're working now. Okay, they can be a bit moody. It's kind of weird. Hmm.
So I was just thinking that from now on we'll just start with the latest space for a few minutes and then we get on with the writing stuff. If that's okay with you.
We started the latest what?
Means the latest things in the tech space, like if it can be related to smartphones or audio, just like a small talk.
Yeah, okay. No problem. Whatever you say, your show, you run it.
Actually, I
Mm-hmm.
was going through your latest articles with the X3, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I read as far as I remember, it was more than the cameras.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the device as a whole? Means, would you recommend it to someone who's buying at that price?
कॉल चल रही दिख नहीं रहा है ऐसे बात करें तुमसे कोई मतलब
Um, I lost you for a minute. You're still there? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Lost you for a minute. In the
Mm-hmm.
middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. About the you're asking about the X3, right? You're asking
Mm-hmm.
about the X3 Super Zoom.
X3 Super Zoom.
Yeah, it's look, it's whether I recommend it or not. First of all, barely using it for 4 or 5 days, so it's too early for me to say. And they already have given 3 updates, so too early for me to say. Um, it really is going to depend on what you want from a device. I mean, if you want a flagship level, close to flagship level processor, it's pretty cool. I mean, 855 plus at sub 25,000 in the case of the X3, slightly more than 25,000 in the case of the X3 Super Zoom. That's a very, very good deal. That's like a staggering deal. Yeah, the display is not the greatest. Yeah, the design is not exactly, oh my God, this is mind-boggling or something. But I never have been able. I have always been fascinated whenever phones go and say buy it because of camera is very good. It's Apple when it sells an iPhone, it doesn't say buy it because of a camera. It'll say, processor, the display, the design, 40 things.
Yeah.
Samsung tried it with the S10 and they said, okay, we have got movable aperture. So, and the problem is we are in a stage where I think camera quality is kind of plateaued. If you look at the iPhone SE, which is a new iPhone, it has
Yeah.
got about the same kind of camera that a Redmi Note 9 Pro has. Let's be very brutal about it. It'll break Apple's hearts. But you don't really have that kind of a distinguishing field anymore. So the cool thing is the 5x optical zoom. The 5x optical zoom is very cool because we're kind of used to like 2.8x, 2x,
Yeah.
3x. 5x is almost double that. Perhaps they could have talked about it, but then Madhav likes doing things his way. And well, Madhav is Madhav. Um, but I don't see anything wrong in that phone. I know there are some people who are saying, "Oh, the display is so bad, you shouldn't buy this phone." But I don't think the display is that bad. For me, it's more about if I'm outside in the sunlight and I can read the phone, I can see what's on the phone. Baat khatam ho gayi. Or frankly, how many of us use the phone in the sunlight? It's not like, "Oh my God, the sun is out, I must use my phone." No, you want to go into the shade and use the phone, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to go into the sun and start. So it seems a good device. I mean, Realme has got a very good track record in when it comes to cameras and all that. They need to work on the UI a little, perhaps. But then we all need to work on the UI a little, perhaps. I
Yeah,
mean, Android is such a mixed bag,
clutter. Yeah,
But yeah, it's kind of
it's a bit of a clutter.
yeah,
So, just
it's a bit.
one small thing related to this. I saw your picture. You uploaded that 10x zoom pic of the temple, if I'm not wrong, right?
Mm,
So
Akshardham, yes,
that
that's
looked
right.
very good. Means the detail on that thing, at least on Twitter, seemed okay. So, have you taken other 10x zoom
It's
pictures,
good.
and would you say they're usable?
10x Zoom is definitely usable. 10x Zoom is usable. I would actually, we have had a few queries on Twitter and all that
Mm.
on taking more zoomed in shots from other phones also. So a lot of people are saying, why don't you try doing it on the OnePlus 8 Pro and
Yeah.
the Mi 10 and the S10 Ultra and just show us what the comparison is. But I think this is extremely usable. And I'm not surprised because look, you've got 5x, you've got optical zoom using the telescope thing. So in other cases, you have 2x and the digital zoom is another 8 plus 8x to it. So
Yeah.
the component of digital zoom on 10x is more than of optical zoom. Here at 10x, 5x is optical zoom and 5x is digital zoom. So the components are pretty much leveraged out and I mean evened out, and that means you get greater clarity. I mean it's interesting. Like I said, it's very interesting. I don't know why they went to say shoot the Milky Way and all that. वो मुझे समझ में नहीं आया. But नहीं, I mean it's like it's marketing.
Usable.
I don't understand
Yeah.
marketing.
So, if you have no issues, we'll start with the question answer session thing. In the end, we'll let
Mm-hmm.
them ask, but I have a few
Sure.
predefined questions from some people, so I'll ask them now.
Oh my God.
So the
Okay,
first,
all right.
yeah,
Carry on.
could you repeat that? I think
Hello.
there's a bit of a connection issue on your side.
Okay, all right. Please continue.
Okay. So
Please
the first,
continue. I couldn't hear your question. Yeah.
okay. So the first question is from Madhav. He's asking, he's got three questions. So the first question that he's asking is that he has a YouTube channel and he's asking, should he start blogs, writing blogs?
Oh wow. Why not? Why ever not? I mean, it's an open world. It's a free world. If you think you've got something to say, yes. Why shouldn't you start writing blogs? Why not? I mean, who's stopping you? Yeah, write it. What's the next question?
Hmm. So his second question is that he wanted to create his own website and he's asking how can he do it better and which site will be better? Should he opt for Blogger or should he opt for WordPress?
Question. It depends upon your print up detail you want to put up. WordPress is by all accounts. I'm not an expert on either. I just have been an editor. WordPress by all accounts is the most powerful thing out there. It allows you to arrange things. It basically lets you be almost a proper website. WordPress is good because it keeps you. Do not want to spend too much time designing stuff and putting stuff up, then I would say then go for Blogger if you just want to write. And if you have got a very clear mind, design in mind, where you say, okay, I want this section here, and I want this thing here, and I want something else there, and I'll have this and this and this. Then WordPress gives you much more. WordPress gives you much more. There's no doubt about it. My only advice would be that maybe just start with Blogger. See how much you have to write, because when we start, we all think we have got lots of ideas, right? Because we think we can write on this and we can write on that. And when you start writing, it's then that you realize that, boss, this is slightly tougher than we thought it was. So
Yeah.
I would say start perhaps with Blogger because it's easier and let you focus on writing. Huh? Initially, focus on writing. If you find you're writing enough and you've got plenty to say, you can always move it to WordPress because the content will be with you. You can move that content later to WordPress. Start with WordPress only if you have a very clear idea of design and everything. Because otherwise, just the layout, just the setting up takes too much time, at least in my case. If you're a WordPress professional or an expert, go for it. Yeah, go for WordPress.
Hmm. So his third question is that he's asking how can we create our own uniqueness while writing blogs?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know because a lot of us don't know what is unique about us. No, a lot of us don't know what's unique about us. Do we? Uh, I No one told me. I started writing in 1999. No, actually 1997, and nobody told me I was a good writer for almost 10 years. My editors would just say, "What is this? Have you submitted it on time? Why is this? Why are you being so fancy? Why are you doing all this?" So, in 2007, and Charles Assisi, who was in Times of India, he was the first guy. He said, "You do, Nimish, do the story," and I was like, "Sure." And he said, "No, I want you to do this because no one else can do it." And I was like, "What? You're the best writer. You do it." And I was like, "Oh, I am? No, you idiot! You've been writing for 10 years. Don't waste my time. No, do it." Now, uh, a lot of us don't know what's unique about us. Okay, don't try to go into anything gimmicky. Don't try to be unique. Just be yourself. I think people will appreciate that the most. How can you make yourself different? I don't know. It's a very tough question. Some people say, maybe I'll have a different style of presentation. Maybe I'll use certain kind of language. Maybe I'll cover certain things. Look, it's all very easy to say. But at the end of the day, it has to come from within. If you do not feel it that way, you won't be able to sustain it. You don't want to become, some kind of stunt guy who's doing things he doesn't believe in. My whole thing is if your content is good enough, whether it is unique or not is irrelevant. The BBC is the most predictable, boring format you'll ever see on TV or on a website. But everyone reads the BBC. Okay. Is the Google interface very innovative? No, it's just a box. Search. No gimmicks. But it's useful, no?
Yeah.
Do not think of how you can be unique. Yeah. Think of your reader. If you can give him or her something to do, that's what matters. It doesn't matter वो पीछे लाइट कितनी जल रही है, म्यूजिक आ रहा है, ऐसे एडिट हो रहा है. That doesn't matter. What matters is you make the person read and what they do after it. So do not obsess with being different. You're perfectly fine the way you are. You're perfectly fine the way you are. Just be yourself, and if you think you have value, deliver it. You'll be different. That's just what's important. Now, baki sab, nah, it's all makeup, dude. It comes off.
That was very helpful. So, moving on, we've got Karan.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, here also, and he's got a lot of questions, and he's asked a particularly big question, and I'd like to ask that first. I need to take a bit of a
Oh
breath
my God.
because it's that big of a question. So, I'll read it out. I'm planning on starting to write some pieces on tech as a hobby, not to publish as a blog at first, but just to read back later. But I might decide to publish it later if I like the piece. The query is building a blog and hosting it from scratch can be a hassle. So I'm planning on writing in Notion and then later publish to a Medium or publish to Medium or simply use the share on the web feature of a Notion page to make it into a self well formatted web page without worrying about making a nice looking blog or hosting. Would you recommend going with this? Just a second. Would you recommend going with this? Where's that? With you, I really can't find the line. Just a second. Where did it go? And then later publishes. Would you recommend going with this approach, or would you urge to build a proper blog?
Any approach that lets you write is a good approach. Any approach that lets you write is a good approach. Let's be very honest about it, dude. It's about your writing. You feel comfortable doing it in Notion? Go ahead, do it. The important thing is you should be able to write. You should be able to focus your energies on writing. Anything that diverts your energies from writing had better be worth it. Had better be worth it. If it's not worth it, it's not worth putting up any effort in. Whichever approach lets you do more writing, go with it. That's the main thing. Simple.
Okay. And his next question is, what is your writing process oblique flow?
I don't have one. I don't have one. We all follow the. We have got this wonderful thing. It's amazing. All of us start writing very well as the deadline gets closer. It's amazing. It happens to everybody. You can sit and do all the inspiration you want, and you can say, "Oh my God, I'm not feeling right. I need to have a coffee. I need to read this book. Perhaps I'll listen to some music. I'm not feeling in the mood for it. I'll watch a video." And then you notice the deadline is 2 hours away, and irrespective of how you're feeling, you bloody well will write it then. So, I mean, I don't want to sound so cynical. No, I don't. I don't have a particular, uh, can I say, methodology for going for writing flow. Some days it comes out like cream out of a silver jug. Sometimes it's like walking with hobnail boots in a swamp. It just doesn't work. The important thing for you to remember is we have this wonderful saying about writing. I'm sure it's an editor who said it. Some copy is always better than no copy. Always better than no copy. So just get your head in there. You won't always write well. Dude, you don't always make food well. You don't always make tea well. You don't always do exercises in the gym well. There's no guarantee you will do writing well every time. It's not going to happen. Okay. I mean, Sachin Tendulkar could go out and get out cheaply, couldn't he? So you are going to have off days. Do not beat yourself up about it. But yes, in my case, if there's something I like to keep in mind is I try not to get too mentally disturbed. Okay, because writing comes from here. This is very important. Your peace of mind is very, very important, gentlemen. I cannot overstate it. So try to keep yourself at as much of a peace of mind as possible, and sit down and hope it comes out. If it doesn't come out, you're having an off day. Still try to do whatever you can. There is no real flow process per se. You follow the same thing. I mean, I can give you the classic flow example that every paragraph should be linked to each other. The headlines should, act as intervals that allow people to pause and draw breath and so on and so forth. I can give you that spiel, but everyone knows that. Uh, there is no set formula. You just try to keep yourself mentally ready, and you hope it will come out. It's a bit like praying to God, right? You go and you say, Bhagwan ye kar de, and you hope it bloody well happens, yeah. Sometimes it does.
And his final question is, what tools do you use at different stages from inception of an idea for a piece to finally publishing the piece?
um, Notes and pages and MS Word processor. I do not do anything very methodical. If my whole thing is, I normally, if it's research based, I try to fill myself up with as much information about the whole thing as possible. So I'll try to read a lot on it. I'll perhaps bookmark the articles I want to read, right? Refer to again. The software, I do tools. I tried Scrivener and all that, but I found that actually complicated my life. It was another thing to remember, right? And I broadly stick to just, if I'll do something, I'll scribble on MS on, sorry, on notes. And most of the writing, it used to happen in MS Word, but now MS Word, with all respect to Microsoft, which is a company I totally adore, but the interface is just too clogged up. So I prefer going for something much more minimalistic. I mean, sometimes I'll just open an email window and I'll type there because I know there is not much clutter there. You got a blank screen. There's a very nice app called I think AI Writer or IA Writer, one of the two. I don't know which one comes before, but it's a very clean, uncluttered interface, and you just type on it. It keeps your mind open. I don't use any particular tools for writing. I mean, writing is the head, really.
So that concludes the predefined questions. Now, if anybody has any questions, they can ask them.
All right. No, that was quick. Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask.
Jones?
Yeah, Jones, carry on.
Sir, actually, I wanted to ask how tech savvy you are in your daily life. Like, you use a tab, or is your house controlled by like Alexa or something like that? Because you are into tech and you have been writing about tech from a long time. So, how tech savvy are you in your daily life? So maybe I'm
Uh,
wondering that. uh, you're like Michael Fisher carrying around a tab to a cafe Starbucks and writing over there, something like that. So how tech savvy you are in your daily life?
No, yaar, very little tech savvy. Horribly little tech savvy. I tried using Alexa at home, but then the problem is when you're staying with other people in the house, and you suddenly say, "Hey Alexa," and three people say, "What did you say?" I'm talking to the speaker. You're talking to the speaker. Talking to the speaker. Dude, what's wrong with this guy? He's talking to the speaker. So, I mean, I mean, it's like you try to talk on your, you're outside and you pick up your phone and say, "Hey Siri," five people in the metro look at you. What's wrong with this guy? So Alexa didn't quite work out. I'm not very tech savvy. I use a lot of technology, but how do I do not automate a lot of the processes. Like I use a Kindle. I love the Kindle. As if someone were to ask me what's my favorite device, it would perhaps be the Kindle, because you can books with you wherever you want, and you can read them whenever you want. You can go and buy stuff whenever you want. Otherwise, it really is a matter of weight and convenience. I actually would like to carry a Mac, but I carry pad because it's easier. I mean, if you don't find a seat somewhere, you can just sit on the stool and you can just open your iPad and you can, read it wherever you wish. I hardly ever use AI. नहीं यार, it's quite threadbare. It's quite threadbare. I mean, I use a laptop. I use an iPad. I like scribbling with an Apple Pencil on an iPad. I think that the one reason I use the Apple Watch a lot is the Apple Watch is so proactive. Unlike Android Wear, which you have to tap, and Apple Watch telling you come inside your house, go and wash your hands. That's cool. The coolest thing was, of course, I was sitting in a meeting and I once got a heart rate alert saying your heart rate is going up. And I was like, "Hey, everyone, hang on, my heart rate is going up." I was like, "Oh my God, are you dying? You're going to have a heart attack. This is so cool." And I was like, God. But it's one of the reasons why I have such a lot of appreciation for Apple. They're so proactive. They're so incredibly proactive. The tech becomes easy. And I'm not very, I mean, I still read my normal books. I'll still watch the series depending on this on Netflix. There's no automation. I won't say, okay, this is this time, so this thing should start up automatically. No, I'm not. I can't do that because I'm way too moody. I'm way too moody. I'm very erratic that way. It's one of the reasons why I'm a freelancer. I'm an absolute nightmare to work with because I'm the kind of person who says, I don't feel like this. I don't feel like doing this. I won't do this. I don't want to do this. And then it becomes very difficult for the people with me. This is why I have always been with very, very small teams. So no heavy automation there. Not much tech. I mean, there's a lot of gadgetry around thanks to all the companies which keep sending stuff as part of it's my job. Reviewing it is my job. But I haven't AI'd my life, so to speak. So, I mean, you were saying real stupidity always beats artificial intelligence.
So, does anybody else have any questions for Sir?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
This is one final question, sir.
as many as you want.
Sir, actually, I was thinking that with all these techs coming, like the smartwatch, you say, or all the Me robot, vacuum robot, and stuff, are we cluttering our lives? It's just another thing that you have to charge once again. Like I don't wear a smartwatch; I just wear a Casio. Okay, so I think that with all this tech, that's another added tension
Yeah.
that you have to charge that, you have to update that, all those million things.
Right.
Shouldn't tech be proactive?
Yes, it should. Yes. Yes, it absolutely should. There is there's a fine line. It's got that famous song by Paul McCartney. It's a fine line between chaos and creation, and
Yes.
this is very much the case in the case of technology also. I mean, I know there are many people who can write an email by just hitting tab and accepting all the auto recommendations. I mean, that becomes crazy. Look, tech should enable you to do more. We have I think Jobs, or somebody had said it. He says, I don't want technology to do what I'm doing right now unless it is better than what I'm doing. It better be better than me. If it's not better than me,
Yes.
then just because it does what I'm doing, where is
No
the
use.
value addition? Where is the value addition? I mean, uh, fine, there's a vacuum cleaner which will walk around. I'm nothing against Xiaomi vacuum cleaner. I think Manu is adorable. But I mean, a vacuum cleaner, I've seen a vacuum cleaner. LG had a vacuum cleaner which used to walk around all over the place and, it used to clean everything. And the fact is, I would kind of switch it on and I would kind of keep an eye on it, saying, oh, it's gone there. Is it what's going to happen there? And somehow just picking up a jharu and doing it was simpler and less complicated to the mind.
Yes, sir.
And I think
It
I've
should
seen
not distract us.
it better, actually,
Yes, sir.
to be very honest. I mean, a computer is a wonderful thing. A Kindle is a lovely thing. An iPod is a lovely thing. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're going to go into handheld fans and, I mean, maybe automatic toothbrushes and all that, then it starts getting a bit, come on, yeah, come on.
Yeah, it's,
You don't
it's
do
not.
something just because you can do it,
Yeah, it's not necessary to automate everything or make everything smarter.
Exactly.
Sometimes basics is everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, add value.
Yeah.
Add value. You are an automatic toothbrush and it does something which your normal brushing can't do, and that's an important
Yeah.
thing. By all means, yeah. You got a vacuum cleaner which will perhaps disinfect the entire house and make sure there are no germs anywhere. What's next? We are working on a laptop and a big hand will come out and pour mug of coffee down your throat. I mean, come on. I mean, it's like one of the craziest innovations I've seen for the sake of innovation was there was this Korean company in 2006, and they released a phone without a keyboard. And we said 2006, and we were like, phone without keyboard. How do you dial? Oh, it's a very innovative way of dialing. Yeah, how? You write the figure in the air. So you hold up your phone like this, and then in front of it, you figure in the air. So 98, 101, 983. Now, actual demo. And we're like, okay, all right. First reaction, this is so cool. Next reaction, but how do I know? What if I forget the phone number midway? What if I've written it wrong? Because I can't see the damn phone. I'm just writing in the air, So, I always give that as an example of tech which seemed very cool, Actually, the thing of it, somebody's writing in the air and able to sense what is being written, but it didn't quite work out. So, I mean, let it add some value, let it do something to your life, and that would be good. But otherwise, don't just bring it in because it's got a processor in it, it's very smart, we must use it. No, not really.
Agreed.
So, any other questions for sir?
No. We can talk of the OnePlus Nord depending on what I know of the device from my different sources. Look, it's OnePlus trying to get back into the zone and where it used to belong. Okay, it's a brand which has moved up. It started with a 19,999 rupee phone, the one in 2014 November or October, I think. And after that, it's right now a phone which is priced almost 3 times as much when we look at the OnePlus 8 Pro. Now, as you go up the price ladder, the problem is the competition at the lower price levels might seem more intense, right? You have many more options at rupees 20,000 than you have at rupees 50,000. But the difference is the perception and the spending ability of people changes. Okay, now, somebody who wants to buy a 20,000 rupee phone will not consider a 30,000 rupee phone because 30,000 is like 50% more. But somebody is spending a 50,000 rupee phone will think of spending on a rupee 60,000 phone because the sum is still 10,000, but it's just 20%.
Yeah.
And a person who's 50,000, chances are he will have more money to spend. I mean, generally, I don't want to make a overarching assumption, but he'd have more money to spend. Now, that is the one. The competition was other budget flagships. Xiaomi, like Mi 4, Mi 5. Asus used to have the Zenfone series at that time. There were one or two other players also. There was a brand called Zoppo, which is trying very hard with video processors at that time. That used to be the competition OnePlus had, and you were very kind of I won't say complacent, but you could simply say, "Fine, we don't have this, but this is 30,000. Yeah, that's 25,000. What are you going to want? What do you want from this? Jaan loge bacche ki." There will be some compromises. We can't give everything. Now, that option starts getting restricted. It's one thing to be compared with another 25,000 rupee phone. And when you're in 50,000 and somebody says, S20, iPhone, the benchmark changes. That is where OnePlus is facing a challenge right now. OnePlus has great brand equity. People say, oh, OnePlus, great brand equity. Yes, great brand equity. But where is the brand equity? Is in the flagship, basically, right? 35,000 rupees, OnePlus, itne daam pe, this is the best damn phone. For 35,000 rupees, it's a very good phone. If you bring it up to 55, bring it up to 50, and the goalposts start moving. The benchmark goes up a different level. So I think with the OnePlus Z, I think it's going to be called the Z. Nord is just a Nord is just a code name. I think with the Z, they are going to go. Some people are comparing it to the OnePlus X, which was launched in 2015, I think. They shouldn't compare it to the OnePlus X. The OnePlus X was a very different device. Okay, at that time, the OnePlus 2, which is the main phone, the OnePlus 2 cost about 22,000, and the OnePlus X cost 17,000.
Yeah.
So the price differential wasn't very great. So everyone is like, you're going to buy this. Why don't you just take a special scheme from Amazon or return your own phone? You'll get a OnePlus 2. Why do you want to take a OnePlus X? That was the whole rationale. Now, with this one, with the OnePlus Y, you have the most affordable new OnePlus device is 41,990. That is the one which is available on your below 20. The price differential is huge. No one's going to say, why are you spending on this? Go and buy a OnePlus 8. No, it's not even in the equation. So I think they're trying to get, I won't say get back their core audience. The core audience is stable, but this is kind of what the OnePlus 7 was last year. If you remember, they had announced it at 32,999 and everyone freaked out. They were like, oh my God, 32,999. Because the OnePlus 7 Pro was launched at 47, I think.
47, yeah.
And this was 32, and everyone was like, wow. So, I mean, everyone just went crazy over it. So, this is OnePlus going back to its traditional flagship killing roots. The big challenge is, are they going to use a 765? Are they going to use an 855 plus? My sources say 765 because 855 plus is already there. The OnePlus 70 is doing reasonable. They won't control. So we are going to feeling it's going to be 765. It's going to be 90 hertz refresh rate, and we're going to have a quad camera, maybe dual cameras in front. We're not very sure. OnePlus's selfie camera strategy has always been very fascinating. I mean, they've been stuck on 16 megapixels since OnePlus 3T. Maybe they'll change that. I don't know. I mean, if below 20, if below 20, then it becomes really interesting because then they get into Xiaomi territory. Because Xiaomi is like what 9 Pro Max is 16,999, I think, right now. So that would be something. But I'm expecting it to be closer. My own mental assessment is it to be closer to 25. I mean, it's, anything else? You can ask Tech if you want. Anyone can ask Tech if you want. Without violating confidentiality, I can give an answer.
I have one. What are your thoughts on the recent WWDC announcement?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how deep you are, like how many
Elaborate.
Apple products do you use?
I think WWDC. What was the second sentence after that?
I'm not sure how deep you are in the ecosystem, so how much those announcements affect you. But what are your general thoughts, and if you have used the data and such?
Okay. Reasonably deep in the ecosystem actually since 2003. So reasonably deep. Interesting. It's interesting. The one thing that I like about Apple is the intensity with which they prepare for stuff. Okay, and a lot of people, when they look at the Apple feature, they'll say, "Oh, but Android already had this. What's the big deal?" Android always had widgets, right? Android always had face unlock. Android had gestures since God knows when. What's so special? And my answer always has been it's a level of implementation. Now, Apple will take something that Android does, whether it's inspired by Android or not, we don't know. Because from what I know of the company, it tests a feature for like close to a year. So if you see something coming to the Apple ecosystem, to an Apple product, the chances are they thought of it about a year and a half ago. So there is a lot of intense preparation, which is why things going wrong in Apple is relatively rare. I mean, it's not as if they don't go wrong; they do go wrong, but it's relatively rare. It's much more stable. The performance levels are much more stable. This year's WWDC, fascinating, very fascinating as usual. I mean, of course, we have all the changes in iOS, we have all the changes in WatchOS and everything. Widgets are coming. A lot of people are very happy that now incoming call is not going to take over your full screen. Big deal, yeah, huge deal, really massive. I mean, it came to the stage where we used to pair our iPhones with our Macs, and you're working. The only reason you pair it with your Mac is you can reject a call from a corner on your Mac. You can't do it on your iPhone. It was just so weird. So that was a great change. I like how proactive their devices are. Uh, I like a huge thing. I think Jones will love the feature that now your iPhone will tell you if your headphones are too loud. So that's very cool. That's very cool because a lot of us listen to it. The headphones really maxed out, and it's a nice touch. But of course, the biggest thing is the move to silicon. They're moving away from Intel. So to use the jargon of the current terms, Atmanirbhar, we're going to make our own processors. And one of our team has leaked out the fact that they might even be making their own camera sensors. Of course, that will happen later. But the move away from Intel is a huge one. It's a huge one. I mean, are you what is it going to be? Is iOS going to be more like Mac OS? Is Mac OS going to be like more like iOS? We don't know really, but it's like a platform change. It's almost like a platform change, and you're going back to your roots because when we started out, first Mac was the iMac in 1997. The first Mac I bought was the iMac actually. First Mac I used was the Macintosh. That was crazy. I mean, we didn't know what a mouse was. We were like, "Ye kya hai?" Move the cursor, you move the mouse. You're like, I can use the arrow keys. Why do you want to use the mouse? Why do you use putting something else there? No, use the mouse. Okay, all right. But uh, it's like a whole paradigm shift. And if you look at it, it'll come to a stage where somebody who makes a product for a software, an app for Apple, will not be able to make it that easily for Android, which is the case even now. But this is going to become an empire of its own. It's huge. Apple Silicon is huge because it's our processor, it's our OS, it's our hardware, and everything is tuned to make it work perfectly. Of course, what a lot of people are not noticing is it will also mean lower costs. So you could have slightly more affordable Apple devices. If I was Intel, I would be very, very worried. I'll be very, very worried. I mean, after Ryzen coming in, this is not really great news for them. It's a great company. Intel is a great company when they believe in being paranoid, but this is huge. I mean, for me, WWDC as usual, lots of product enhancements, but silicon is like, oh, where did this come from?
So in general, a lot of OEMs have been moving away from Intel, right? So like, what do you think the next move that Intel will make to come back in the market? Like, do you think they'll do something or will Ryzen dominate?
too early to say. I mean, Intel's market share is huge. Intel versus Ryzen right now is a bit like it's a bit like iOS and Android. If you know what I mean. Android has the numbers. Android has the numbers. You cannot argue with that. But iOS seems to have the quality. So Ryzen is a bit like that. Ryzen is like trying to make its way through. We had the same thing happening in I think 2000 2001, where AMD were the first ones who actually came up with a processor which would go past 1 GHz. They called it the Athlon. They called it the AMD Athlon, and that really challenged Intel for a while. With Ryzen, they could do the same again once more. But given Intel's stature and its reach, we can be reasonably sure they'll hit back. They'll come back with something. It's an amazing company. Again, Intel is an amazing company. When you meet these people, you're sitting across the table and you're talking to Kalpe. You're sitting across the table, you're talking to Hugo Barra, to Manu Jain, and all these guys. I mean, these guys, they are literally in the product, and you get to know so much. So Intel, I don't think is going to be complacent, and it's also a company which is designed to move fast. Intel is one of the few companies which is a big company, a huge company, and yet it moves very fast. So I think they'll hit back. I think we're going to see much more here. The big challenge is not Intel. The big challenge right now is AMD, to be honest. They have got a good one with Ryzen. They need to follow it up. Because you can follow it with 2 or 3 good chips, then a person suddenly starts thinking, oh, this thing is actually good. And they were good again. Come on, that's nice. This is what often goes wrong with MediaTek in the mobile system, if you notice. They come up with one good chip. And the next 2 chips will have some issues, and people will say, oh, yeah, MediaTek, yeah, come on. It's very bad for the poor guys. I mean, they work very hard. MediaTek is again a company which it moves like this. I mean, but I think the challenge still is more with AMD. They have to kind of earn that depth of, what can you say, they have to earn that equity, saying, we are as good as Intel. Right now, what you've shown is we can beat Intel in some regards. You got to be an alternative. That's going to be the next step. Intel is likely to keep doing what it's doing because it has the numbers, and it will respond. But I don't think it's going to come up with a huge response just yet. They don't need to.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Anything else?
Also, I'm guessing you've used Wear OS. How do you like it? Like, you loved it, or it had some issues? You had some issues with it. Like, would you describe your experience with it?
With what? Wear OS?
Yeah.
My experience with it was, I don't know. It's like it's kind of like you get a meal with with the best ingredients in the world, and it's not been cooked properly. That's it. Or if you go in musical terms, you get the best guitarist, you get the best saxophone player, you get the best percussionist, you get the best lyricist, and they still put together a crappy number. It's a bit like that, to be very honest. It had everything. And yet, it somehow just did not work smoothly enough. That is a challenge that I think Android has been facing for a very long time. It's not as if they can't do what iOS or anyone else can. They can. I mean, but the implementation has always been, perhaps because someone makes the hardware, someone else makes the software, which is why I think in wearables, if you notice, a lot of people are now going with their own UI, Huawei is going with their own UI. Amazfit is going with their own UI. It's because the whole thing of trying to link it to Android did not quite work out. Finding stuff was difficult. You could tap and things won't happen. You'd swipe and things would not happen sometimes. And your patience levels on a wristwatch are much lower. I was once talking to Apple about the Apple Watch, and I was like, "What's the biggest challenge you had with the Apple Watch?" And you think it's the biggest challenge, Nimish, is that with a phone, with a laptop, as the device becomes smaller, the user's patience keeps going down.
Yeah.
With a laptop, you don't have a problem if a page is taking some time loading, right?
Yeah, yeah, right.
On your phone, if a page takes time loading, you'll be like, oh, what the hell, yeah.
Yeah.
Now imagine that thing happening on your watch. You're like,
Yeah.
what? So they said the biggest thing is an Apple Watch is it's the product which everyone in Apple wants to work on and is scared of working on because the standards are so high. They're like, we cannot afford to mess up here.
Yeah.
So I think Android Wear was look, if somebody actually had the patience to go through everything, um, then it's a great OS because it lets you do a lot. It reminds me a lot of Symbian when Nokia was handling it in 2007 to 2010. Nokia's operating system was called Symbian. This
Yeah.
is very much like that. It had everything. I mean, Symbian in 2007 had widgets. They used to call them widsets. They had an app store. They had email. They had word processing. They had spreadsheets. On a 2.4-inch display, you could do spreadsheets. The problem was it worked really badly. So there would be crashes. If your phone had too many SMS messages, the phone would slow down. Now, it's a classic case of you had the features, you had everything, but you just couldn't put it together well. And I feel a bit bad for Android Wear because uh, the potential was there. Because when you use it and when it actually works sometimes, then you see, oh my God, you can do this. This is so amazing. But I guess, I don't know. Android has been kind of fascinating in that regard. It's been one which has everything and yet somehow comes up short. Maybe that'll change. Maybe that'll change. Anymore. Anything else, gentlemen?
Yeah, nothing. Thank you.
Welcome.
I think that concludes our session then, if there are no questions remaining. So thanks for joining in again, sir. This session was also very good.
Thank you. Pleasure as always. Thank you for your patience, guys. See ya.